Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, Earthlings. This morning we wake up to the face of Clevr blends. Clevr blends, I'm sure you've all seen it. And I say good for Megan, good for her. She's invested in this little coffee company that nobody ever heard of before. That's, I think, pretty expensive, but never mind. She's doing her own thing. This is what she wanted. She fought for freedom to escape the palaces and the castles, and she has arrived. She is finally the face of a brand. I don't think William Morris Endeavour got her this gig. I think probably Harry's money got her this gig by investing in it. And I did actually suggest this a few years ago when she first got into the Clevr blends thing. I thought, well, why don't you do a couple of commercials for them? It's work. It'll help the company that you've invested money in. So good luck to her. Isn't it better than selling out stories on Oprah and Endgame and Finding Freedom and stuff like that and all the misremembering? But I have to say in the same breath, what a fall from grace. Oh dear. Clevr blends it may be, but it is a far, far cry from Dior, isn't it? Where Meg Bellamy, the girl who portrays Catherine in The Crown, and she does actually, if you watch The Crown, she does actually look quite a bit like Catherine, as close as you're going to get. Very, very lovely looking young lady, half Meghan's age. It's understandable, isn't it? So here we go. Meghan has arrived. She is the face of Clevr blends. And the thing that struck me about this I think it's a commercial that's been put on Instagram. That's the impression I get. The thing that really struck me about it, and I don't know if the newspapers did this on purpose, but I've seen it in The Sun. Okay, yeah, I read The Sun occasionally, and the Daily Mail, is that they chose to freeze her picture on the picture that I've used as the thumbnail. Now, if we cast our minds back a few weeks to that photograph that one of her superfans took of her, who claimed that was not photoshopped. That's how Meghan looks. Do you remember the one where, I mean, I thought that doesn't look like Meghan because her head was shaped like a peanut and stuff. And I think the light was, I don't know if she had lip gloss on her eyebrows or something going on there. But that photo, remember? And that superfan of Meghan's then got savaged by the Sugars herself. I watched the Royal Grifts video on that. That was just incredible that the Sugars actually attack each other when there's not sufficient worship going on. Well, this commercial, and I watched the whole thing, she really does look like that. That's how she looks, and I don't know why she's changed so much in appearance, because she didn't look like that when she was in the royal family. What's going on? I know people say she's taking a slimming drug, that they're alleging that, Ozempic or something. I don't know. This is more than slimming. I mean, the top of her head seems larger than the bottom of her head. Her skin, it looks like she is under tremendous stress. I do feel we should all bear that in mind. I can imagine she is under tremendous stress. They've both had a terrible year. And why? Well, they released the Netflix thing about a year ago, didn't they? Then Harry released Spare. Then they've had catastrophic car chases, etc., etc. And it's just gone from bad to worse. And then, of course, Omid Scobie's waded in and made things a million times worse for them. And I can only see it getting worse. I mean, if you think this is bad, please, if you've never heard of her, Google Heather Mills. Now, I actually felt sorry for Heather back in the day. She married a Beatle, Sir Paul McCartney. From the moment they announced their engagement, I got similar vibes as I did with Meghan, like, I don't know, something's a little bit off here. And I watched them interviewed on Larry King and stuff like that. And I was just like, and somebody leaked where they were going to get married, and Heather made a bit of a joke of it, or who could it have been? But I do respect Heather Mills a lot. If you've never heard of her, Heather Mills is pretty famous glamour model, and she was involved in an accident and she had one of her legs amputated, and that has not held her back in life at all. And she wears a prosthetic that looks, you just wouldn't be able to guess. Google her, look up her images. Very beautiful woman, and she's really out there, very powerful character. Now, I didn't think that marriage was going to last. I really didn't. She was just like chalk and cheese to his first wife, Linda, and seemed quite pushy and quite out there. Nothing wrong with being ambitious, but yes, they did separate, they did divorce, and oh, it was awful. And I didn't even follow the divorce. It was one of those things I couldn't escape. Everywhere I went, they were talking about it on the radio, because I used to have the music on so the kids wouldn't fight in the back of the car on the way to school. And they would mention it, and then DJs were commenting on it. Everybody was talking about it. Every petrol station I went to, the headlines, they called her mucker. They savaged her, and in the end, she ended up on one of the morning TV shows, and she had a meltdown. She brought a file with her of all of the articles the newspapers had done about her. She carried a camcorder with her, and when she had paparazzi chasing her, and they really were. Oh, excuse me, just one moment, sorry about that. Amazon. You can tell Christmas is coming. So yeah, she was filming these paparazzis. She had a little camcorder, and they were real harassing paparazzis. There was nothing fake about it. And she was sort of saying to them, how do you feel being filmed? Why are you doing this to me all the time? And I did feel sorry for her. She really lost the plot. And, but again, she had kind of brought things on herself. However, Heather, in the end, I get the impression, just went off and did her own thing. Once the divorce was over, and that was it, and the story stopped. Not sure I can see that happening with Meghan, because a Beatle is alto, right? Big. The royal family is historic big. It's never going to stop. It's never going to go away. And I don't feel Meghan has hit that Heather Mills level yet. Nowhere near. Nowhere near. And I've mentioned it more than once. In fact, when they first showed Meghan and Harry's engagement interview, there was a Daily Mail article about it. Majority of comments were in favour of Meghan, absolutely in love with her. And I was one of the few that said, I don't know, I'm getting Heather Mills vibes off this. I don't think this is going to end well. And there weren't very many of us. If you look back at historical Daily Mail articles, look up Harry and Meghan's engagement interview, and look up look at the comments in the Daily Mail specifically, and you will see, if you go to best rated comment, everyone was wishing her well. And if you go to the worst rated, you'll find comments like mine going, I don't know, I'm not sure about this. It was quite small, and people were against us. And also articles about her family, her father doing the photographs and stuff, and Samantha Markle having things to say, and Ninaki Priddy. Again, the few people, and I didn't actually comment on those ones, but the few people that were standing up for them saying, I think these are warning shots, guys, they were savaged. They were absolutely savaged in the comments of the Daily Mail. The majority of the British readership of the Daily Mail was very much in favour of Meghan. These days, it's completely the other way around. So it's interesting that how things have changed. And I'm guessing a lot of you were like the minority, like me. And I still remember to this day, one person had commented, and I get the impression it was someone who knew Meghan personally, and it always stuck in my mind. They said, none of you guys know Meghan, and if you think Diana was a loose cannon, Meghan is going to be like a leaking atomic bomb all over, leaking radiation all over the royal family, believe me. And I feel that that person in some way may have known Meghan herself. I don't know. So that's the Clevr blends thing with that particular face, the face that all the sugars really hated. I mean, if that's how Meghan looks, that's how she looks. Nothing wrong with that. It's just she looks so different to all of the other photographs. So I thought it was quite interesting. And I was also reading this morning in The Guardian, I'll put a link in the description to this article, a journalist who was criticising the elite and King Charles for being into homeopathy. And it's a very, very, well, I think stupid article, actually. I found it by just looking up the King. And as we all know, Charles is into alternative medicine. And I'd like to speak up a little bit of the case of alternative medicine, because as you all know, Graham, and I as well, take flaxseed oil and cottage cheese, although he prefers it with yoghurt. And I'm not endorsing this or saying this is a cure for any illness whatsoever. But what we were surprised about when we finally got to London and we were talking to the surgeons and the various nurses and doctors is that they too believe in it. For example, after his surgery, the digestive system, it just goes into shock. And it's very important to get that going again, obviously. And I was buying him little shots of ginger, it was really quite spicy. And he was having a little shot of ginger every day. And the doctors and nurses were just astonished at how quickly he recovered. And I said to them, is it okay to give him this? And they said, yes, that's a brilliant idea. If only everybody would do that, because that will help with the digestion. And they couldn't believe it. And lots of the nurses were saying, you know, drink more water, get exercise. These are the things. There was even a dedicated dietitian nurse. And a lot of what she was talking about is you are what you eat. And it's very much homeopathy, I think, goes hand in glove with normal, conventional medicine. And also a lot of the drugs that doctors give us, they're made from plant-based and, you know, things from the earth. They're not made by the science god at the bottom of the garden who, you know, grows a purple tree that's radioactive. They're making them, a lot of them are plant-based. So I see this journalist say stupid things like, oh, the Queen Mother was as mad as a hatter believing in it all. Didn't she live to 101, 102, something like that? And it's all because Charles has made an appointment. And also I just thought, what an inverted snob to write such an article, because it's sort of suggesting only the rich and the elite, when I know that I wouldn't have known about the benefits of ginger if a lot of you hadn't pointed that out, turmeric as well, and other herbs and spices that have helped Graham and have helped me as well. And there's nothing wrong with talking about that at all. I think it is equally ludicrous to suggest that homeopathy is just an alternative medicine, it's just out the window and only conventional medicine. It is as insane as saying don't use conventional medicine at all, only use alternative medicine. And I will add to that, the flaxseed oil and cottage cheese, we don't know scientifically if that made any difference. However, the surgeons were stunned that Graham's cancer had been arrested, as it were, and had even begun to regress. And also just the physical fitness and health of his body in general. I do personally, I attribute that to the flaxseed oil and cottage cheese, but obviously it's all independent, you know, each person is an individual, everybody makes their own decisions, and I'm not a doctor and I would never give any medical advice, but I did think that that was a very, very snobby article, because herbs and spices, they're one of the most accessible things to everybody, no matter what your income is. So it's ludicrous for them to say, oh, it's only for the king, it's only for the royals. Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. And also a positive mind helps a lot. I do believe that when people become heartbroken, their health goes down. When people are depressed, their health goes down. I do believe in all of that, and I think probably most people do. But if you try and stay upbeat, try and stay positive in yourself. Perhaps Meghan tries to stay positive. I don't think so. I mean, I'm seeing her going downhill rapidly, and she too, I believe, believes in alternative medicine to a certain degree. Didn't she have a lifestyle blog? So this Guardian newspaper, what the hell? It's like they'll literally just have a go at the king, no matter what. And on this instance, I'm going to stand up for the king. In the meantime, look forward to reading your comments, thoughts and opinions on the face of Clevr Blends. Oh dear, how far she's fallen when she could have had it all. Well, she did have it all, didn't she? She had the lot. That girl is going to seriously kick herself one day. Seriously kick herself. Thank you very much for listening.